is Joy News Prime.
Welcome to the most compelling news bulletin on Ghana television. Coming up, as allegations of corruption swirl around the judiciary, the Chief Justice promises to deal swiftly and decisively with those found culpable. But the implicated judges are not going down without a fight. They are filing an injunction to stop public screening of secretly filmed footage of them allegedly receiving bribes, and also pleading not to be crucified until their side is heard. And tired of staying at home, psychiatric nurses demand postings 3 years after graduating.
And in business tonight, monetary policy rate hits the highest mark in 12 years.
Please stay tuned. Now, very first story, the Chief Justice Georgina Thurira Wood has been speaking for the first time on the corruption scandal that is shaking the very foundations of Ghana's justice delivery system. The scandal, unearthed by investigative journalist Barima Osei Asare, has several judges and officials of the judicial service facing allegations of receiving bribes to pervert the course of justice. It's all just a few days after the scandal became public. Ghana's legal professionals are meeting in Kumasi this week, and the Chief Justice took the platform offered by the conference to promise that swift and decisive action will be taken against all those implicated in the scandal.
Now, these alleged ignoble acts of betrayal by these persons, entrusted with the honor of serving our country, but who, it is alleged, chose rather to do exactly the opposite, to serve their own selfish personal goals of enrichment, as you know, are being investigated. As we investigate the various acts or the various alleged acts of gross misconduct, we will ensure that the rule of law, with all the constitutional guarantees and safeguards afforded to all persons accused of stated misconduct, are fully respected. We cannot do otherwise. We are a justice institution birthed in the principles of fair trial and the natural justice principles that we are all too familiar with. The events of the past few days have not robbed us of our institutional origins or identity or integrity. Our fidelity to the rule of law remains intact. Where culpability is established, the Judicial Council is determined to swiftly and decisively apply the appropriate sanctions in accordance with the laws of this land.
Addressing the same conference, former President John Kufuor condemned the corruption in the judiciary and chastised the legal profession in Ghana for sinking solo.
If the Constitution is compromised, it is the judiciary that is the mouthpiece of the Constitution and the central guarantor of the rule of law. Therefore, nothing is more detrimental to the security of a nation than a compromised judiciary. Many a nation has been plunged into war due to lack of justice. Indeed, access to justice supports sustainable peace by offering the citizenry a more attractive alternative to violence in resolving personal and political conflicts. If the judiciary is the mouthpiece of justice, then it will be difficult for anyone to fathom anything worse than a false oracle. The recent exposure of the judiciary being perverse and corrupt is abominable, and it should cause all in the legal and judicial professions to hang their heads in shame. Juxtaposing the corruption that has recently been exposed to our topic of discussion today brings so much to deliberate on, because it is universally recognized that increased access to justice depends on public confidence in the justice system. And far from being prejudicial, that the Judicial Council itself should find it necessary to suspend as many as 22 judges on the suspicion of corruption should make us all sit up to examine ourselves to find out what has gone wrong. Sadly, in this era of information technology, the exposure is instantly transmitted around the entire world, and it does our nation and central profession of law no good.
In his address, Asantehene Otumfuo II spoke about several challenges confronting the country, from the judicial scandal to claims by the opposition New Patriotic Party that there are too many foreign names on the country's voters register.
I feel compelled to say, I put it to you, conference, the spirit of the nation is in despair. I do not think that anyone could have foreseen that this conference would open under the cloud that has engulfed the judicial service and the entire system of justice in our nation. One felt there were many things to celebrate, such as evidence of the increasing consolidation of the rule of law and the continuing modernization of judicial service infrastructure. Yet here we are today, struck down by the tsunami of scandal that threatens to wash away the integrity of the entire judicial arm of government. I speak with the pain of a nation betrayed and the anguish of a people ravaged, whose faith in their nation's most cherished institutions now lie in a crushed earth. I cast my mind across the firmament and see the monuments of the great luminaries of Ghana's legal history. How these great sons of Africa must be turning in their graves. But Our Lady Chief Justice, I, the king of a warrior kingdom, do not submit to despair. So beyond all the pain and anguish, I come to you with faith and with hope. I come to you with faith in the ultimate goodness of our countrymen, faith in our capacity to rise from the ashes of despair. For a start, the world can be assured that the commitment of the nation to democracy is irreversible. And that everyone is aware that the commitment, however, will be hollow without a robust, credible judicial arm. So there's no way that this nation is going to allow the judiciary, the judicial arm of government, or any of its institutions to wither away. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, all of us, chiefs and people, young and old, will rally together to salvage the integrity of the judiciary.
Meanwhile, one of the High Court judges implicated in the corruption scandal is mounting a legal challenge against plans for a public showing of secret films detailing how more than 30 judges were bribed in the sting investigation by Anas Aremio Anas. Justice Paul Derry is also seeking a court declaration that any attempt by the Judicial Service to investigate the allegations emanating from the journalist's investigation would be unconstitutional or illegal. Malik Abbas Dabu has been pouring through Justice Derry's writ and now joins me in the studio with details. Good evening to you, Malik.
Good evening.
So what are the high points or the highlights of the reliefs that Justice Derry is?
Well, in your intro, you said that any attempt by the Judicial Service and the Chief Justice to rely on this work by Anas to institute proceedings that will lead to his dismissal from the service will be unconstitutional. The reason he said that is the circumstances under which Anas obtained the video were unlawful, because he said Anas violated his fundamental right to privacy when he collected this evidence, because by law you cannot record a man unless you give the man sufficient notice by informing the person and asking permission to record the person. In this case, Anas did not do that. Those are his arguments, and he said to the extent that you collected evidence that is unlawful, then there is no reason why you can rely on this unlawful evidence that you collected to institute processes against me. One of the other notable reliefs he's seeking is a declaration that the immunity that was granted Anas by the Attorney General is unlawful, null and void and without effect. The reason he's saying that is still founded on his claim that the evidence was collected in violation of his fundamental right to privacy. So he argues, if somebody violates my rights to privacy and collects evidence, how do you go grant the person immunity from action that is being brought by me? So he says, on the basis of these, he thinks that it is unlawful to allow Anas to use this evidence, first of all, to broadcast it, because he says broadcasting the evidence means that there will be prejudice against him in the hearing that have been instituted by the Judicial Council. You know that the Judicial Council has asked 12 of the High Court judges to write their responses to the allegations contained on the video. He says that process is ongoing. If you allow Anas to go and air this evidence, what will happen is it will poison people's mind and lead to an injustice against him.
Are there any other reliefs apart from these that you have detailed?
Well, he's also seeking a restraining order on the Chief Justice to rely on this evidence. He wants the court to order that the Chief Justice cannot rely on this evidence that was unlawfully collected. He also wants a declaration that because this evidence was unlawfully collected, any processes instituted on the basis of this evidence is null and void.
Now, does it touch at any point in time to the substantive issue, which is the fact that they collected bribes?
No.
Do you make any such reference?
No, you know, he's a judge, a High Court judge for that matter. He has a lawyer. What they want to do is, because in law, usually you cannot put something on nothing. You cannot found a case on the basis of nothing. So he wants to, first of all, clear the case that there's no evidence, that this evidence was unlawfully collected. The lawyers call it admissibility rule. He wants to insist that this evidence is not admissible. If the evidence is not admissible, you cannot prosecute a person on the basis of evidence that is not admissible in court.
In effect, what I understand is, here's the situation where he's trying to get off based on a technicality.
Absolutely, because in law, the process is important as the substance. Procedural law is as much important as the substance. So if you were to be arrested today, the police have a duty to tell you your right, read your rights to you, that you have a right to remain silent, that anything you say can and will be used against you. If the police don't do that and they arrest you and collect evidence against you, your lawyer has every right to go to court and tell the court that that evidence cannot be used against you because you spoke when you did not know your rights, and the court will listen. The procedure is as important as the substance.
Right. Is he the only one who's coming forward with this, or there are others, or his colleagues are going to follow suit?
We do know that tomorrow another 1 or 2 persons are also going to court to file similar cases against.
Why are they not coming together like it's happened in the case of the lower court judges?
Well, I think at this point they have decided not to throw all their eggs in one basket, spread the issues, let everybody get their own lawyer and file their own case. If one case is ruled against, they can learn from that going forward, and then they can amend their cases that are before some other judges.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Malik Abu Dabas. He's been going through the raid by one of the High Court judges who has been implicated in this judicial corruption expose. Now, I've also been speaking to a lawyer for 14 of the 22 lower court judges, or the magistrates and circuit court judges who have also been implicated in it, and he's also stating a certain position. He also has an injunction filed. I'll bring you details as and when we have that available, processing the video. We're taking a break right now, but we have more on this judicial corruption expose coming up. Please don't go away. Welcome to Joy News Prime, and for me, I have a pretty cluttered desk, but it's because I have 2 rates here that we're dealing with, and we're going to be talking with it. Right now, we're speaking to, on Skype, we have a lawyer and activist, Kofi Bento, who is attending the bar conference in Kumasi for his views on all that was done and said on the opening day. And good evening to you, Mr. Bento.
Good evening.
All right, thank you very much for joining. Briefly, what do you make of all that has been going on, the Chief Justice's promise to deal decisively with those implicated in this scandal?
Well, it was heartwarming. I mean, sitting there and listening to all these really big people who really have to take action, expressing how passionate they were about taking action. The first thing, just to express that they have noted with concern and that action was being taken, and that they were determined to see this to the end. Not just the Chief Justice, but speaker after speaker, including the Asantehene himself, expressing, concern about what is going on and absolutely supporting any action, and also asking for the action to be properly taken so that the results are durable, was very, very heartening. It gives you the feeling that not all is lost and that something good will come out of this. It's unfortunate that what has happened is a negative thing. But if you look at the bigger picture, it's a cleansing process. And I am happy that the people who have to take action are absolutely ready and willing to take the action. So I was very happy today to be in the room and hear all the things they had to say.
All right, how about you've talked about what the Chief Justice had to say. How about former President Kufuor and the Asantehene?
Yes, I just mentioned them, that it was very, good to hear former President Kufuor, the Chief Justice, and speaker after speaker express, their outrage that this is happening. Not because they think we have a perfect judiciary, but, I mean, even though we lawyers have heard, rumors and all these things have been bandied around all this time, it is still shocking to see, this level of depravity in some of the, judges. And the outrage was there, and the expression after expression, even from Asantehene, former President Kufuor, Chief Justice, and every speaker who took the podium, that something will be done about this, something is being done. There were concerns about procedure, and it was mentioned that the procedure will be followed to make the outcome durable. Clearly, this is a judiciary which is bent on cleansing itself and definitely will become better.
All right, I'm also sure that issues about the rates that have come up from the High Court judges who have been implicated, and as well as the Superior Court, the inferior courts judges, have also come up at the bar conference. What are your thoughts about it, and what are your colleagues also saying about it?
They've come up, but they were not, matters that were spoken about by the main speakers at the bar conference. So,
but I mean, amongst your colleagues.
Yes, so I just want to make that clear so that we don't get it wrong that they were being spoken about from the days. But yes, among our colleagues, it's come up strongly. And indeed, interestingly, everybody that I have...
We're hoping that we can get this video to get a lot better. It's obvious that the quality has dropped significantly. But all right, we'll try and see if we can get back to Kofi Bento. We've obviously lost him on the Skype call there, but staying on the issue. Lawyer for 14 of 22 magistrates and circuit court judges implicated in the expose on judicial corruption has also been arguing why he thinks the public is going ahead of itself to unfairly vilify his clients when no court has tried them. Charles Bentum, in an interview with John News, stated his clients are having to suffer trauma over the reportage, with their relative and close associates hounding them over the allegations. Mr. Bentum on Monday also filed an injunction seeking to stop the proceedings against his clients on the basis that it does not follow due process. I spoke to him a while ago. There's been a lot going on about the video investigative piece put together by ACE investigative journalist Barima Osei Asare, and today I'm here with one of the lawyers, or the lawyer representing 14 of the 22 magistrates or lower court judges who have been implicated in this whole scandal. And I'm going to be speaking to him. They filed an injunction. I have a copy of that injunction here with me. He's going to be taking me through it all. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lai.
So, can you tell me your full name, please?
Charles Kwesi Bentum.
Right, and you're representing
14 of these plaintiffs. The first to sixth are circuit court judges, and the rest of them are magistrates.
So I have a copy of this motion on notice for an interlocutory order of injunction. Can you explain to us what exactly this is?
Yes, we have filed a main action, a writ against the Judicial Council. That is a substantive suit. But whilst the substantive suit is yet...
Oh, excuse me, when did you file this one?
We filed the writ sometime on the 11th of September. Yes.
Last week.
Last week, yes. And this substantive suit will have to go through the usual court processes. The defendant will have to enter appearance to the writ. they have to file their defense, and other processes will have to go through before the matter is ripe for hearing. In the meantime, we have to file this motion for interlocutory injunction. It's interlocutory because it is in between the commencement of the action and the end of the action. So it is like an interim action to restrain the Judicial Committee from further continuing with the hearing or the inquiry they've started since 10th of September.
Right, so you filed this one when exactly?
We filed it this afternoon, just this afternoon.
Do you know if the defendants or respondents have received their...
Yeah, they've been served. They've been served. I can confirm that they've been served.
What's this one seeking to do?
Yes, I would have to give you a little background to understand it. Now, the plaintiffs are saying that the committee that had been set up by the defendant, Judicial Council, is an illegal panel. I mean, the body that is in place to investigate these magistrates and justices is an illegal body or panel. Now, it is illegal because the conditions of service of these plaintiffs is regulated by the Judicial Service Act, CA10, and also the Judicial Service Regulations. These are the two important laws, piece of law, legislation regulating them. Now, these people can be investigated only on specified grounds of misbehavior. So the regulation has provided that at any time when they have to be investigated or an inquiry has to be conducted into their affairs, it has to be by a single judge of the High Court or a judicial officer appointed by the Chief Justice for that purpose. It doesn't make for a panel, as it is now the case, of about 5 people who are sitting to inquire into all of this. So to the extent that the panel conducting the inquiry is contrary to the law regulating the conditions of employment of the plaintiffs, it is illegal.
Right, so that's just one of them.
That's just one.
Would you have had a problem if, like you're saying, there was one person?
No, we wouldn't have had a problem.
Right.
In fact, the plaintiffs want the due process of the law to be complied with. That's
okay,
it.
so this is just one of them. It's
Yes.
about the constitution of the panel.
Yes, yes.
What's the other?
The other is that the inquiry can be formal or summary. If it is formal, it goes through very elaborate procedures. You have to get your witnesses, get documents, you're going to rely on various procedures. If it is a summary trial or inquiry, it is just what I may say like a fast track mode, and they're entitled to know whether the mode of inquiry is going to be formal or summary, because all of them have their different outcomes. Now, what is happening in Israel is that, for what we've seen, it is a summary procedure that has been adopted. Now, that summary procedure is contingent, can be adopted only on condition that these affected people have already been criminally tried for the offenses being alleged against them. Then when conviction has been secured, then that procedure, involving summary trial can be adopted. They have not been convicted of any trial, and yet this illegal panel is proceeding to try them summary.
And again, I'm sure you'd also want to say that, like you're saying, they have not been informed whether it's summary or the...
Exactly.
So these are two issues that you've brought up. Any other?
Yes, the other worrisome aspect of the whole issue also is that when they were informed of the accusations against them by a letter dated 4th September 2015, the letter merely said that an entity called Tiger Eye Pie has made an allegation against you, and the Judicial Council, the defendants, immediately had constituted a committee to look at the allegations, and their view is that they have to bring all of this into an inquiry to ascertain the veracity of the claims of the Tiger Eye Pie. Now, the investigative report by Tiger Eye Pie that has been submitted to the Judicial Council or to the Chief Justice had not been made available to these people.
But we're taking a break right now. When we come back, more stories. Stay tuned. But right now, we have Etonam Osei in the studio, and she's bringing us business news. Etonam, you're looking lovely.
Thank you.
What did you do this weekend?
Oh, Israel.
What's coming up in business?
Well, I'm sure you know that the monetary policy rate has been increased. It's from 24 to 25 now. And, I mean, that's bad news for people servicing loans, Israel. If we are servicing loans now, it's a bad time to service loans.
Well, you tell us all about it.
All right. Now, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has increased its policy rate. The committee increased the rate by 100 basis points to 25%. Speaking at a news conference a while ago, Governor of the Bank of Ghana attributed the increase to fears of an increase in the rate of inflation and slowed economic growth. In an attempt to tame the country's growing inflation rate as well as the poor performance of the cedi, the central bank today increased the monetary policy rate to 25%. The figure is one of the highest in recent times. The last time the figure went that high was in January 2003, when it was pegged at 25.5%. Prior to hitting 25%, it was at 24%. The monetary rate is the rate at which the central bank lends to commercial banks, and is also used by banks to calculate their base rates. The latest hike is expected to tame inflation, but will see banks increase interest on loans as well as reduce access to credit. Speaking to the press, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Henry Kofi Wampa, said the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank was forced to increase the policy rate to 25% due to uncertainty in the foreign exchange market as well as heightened inflationary pressures.
Consistent with the attainment of the inflation target by the end of 2016, therefore, the FPC is determined to prevent first-round effects of the likely increases in prices and the higher cedi liquidity during the fourth quarter from being entrenched into elevated inflation expectations. On month-on-month basis, the Ghana cedi appreciated against the US dollar in July by 25.5% and then depreciated in August by 14.8%. This uncertainty in the foreign exchange market heightens inflation expectations. In the coming months, however, the currency volatility is expected to moderate due to the tight monetary policy stance and the anticipated flows from the Eurobond issue and the syndicated pre-export finance facility for coal. The decision of the committee to increase the policy rate is consistent with the committee's forecast, which requires further tightening in order to bring inflation back within the target band by the end of 2016. The committee will continue to monitor developments and take appropriate action.
According to him, some moderation occurred in August, with inflation declining to 17.3%, still higher than the June reading of 17.1%. Core inflation, which includes CPI excluding energy and utilities, however, continued to rise, suggesting persistent underlying inflation pressures. The current forecast suggests that attainment of the medium-term inflation target by the end of 2016 would require further tightening in the monetary policy stance, else the target horizon will shift into 2017. He also laments the potential upward risks to the inflation forecast stemming from the planned significant increases in utility tariffs. Let's still stay on issues relating to the Bank of Ghana, because the amount of Ghana cedis in circulation for economic activities has witnessed its significant decline. My colleague George Riafe earlier put together this report.
According to the latest report by Bank of Ghana on monetary activities in the country, growth of money supply declined sharply to about 14%. Deposits of both Ghana cedi and even foreign currencies are also dropping. The development has affected credit extended to businesses as total advances by commercial banks are also going down. If this continues, it could have serious implications on lending rates and even access to credit for most businesses. One can even see that the current challenge has resulted in the various promotions being carried out by commercial banks to improve deposits.
The Bank of Ghana has finally given Sunyani-based DKM Diamond Microfinance Company the all-clear to resume operations. The governor announced lifting of the ban on the company's operations today at the press conference to announce decisions of the Monetary Policy Committee meetings. This is after the 30-day extension of a 3-month moratorium on the company's operations and bank accounts expired last Friday. Depositors have since been anxious of a resumption of the company's operations to withdraw their funds. Meanwhile, management of the company has stated its commitment to comply with all the directives given by the central bank, including the temporary suspension of deposit taking until directed otherwise. Here's the CEO, Martin Daly.
We've been given the green light to start operations with conditions. One of the conditions, will start operation, but we will not be taking deposits as usual. We should pay up to a certain percentage of customers. From that point, then we'll write officially to them that now we have paid some customers, and then they give us the green light that we can start taking deposits at this rate. And within no time, we'll set off that condition again as expected. We can satisfy it and also let Bank of Ghana come on with the necessary things that they want to continue to help us.
Now, the country's public debt has reached levels that could be described as alarming. Latest figures from the Bank of Ghana puts the debt at almost 95 billion Ghana cedis as of June this year. George Riafe has more on the debt numbers and other economic data recovering government's operations from May to July this year.
According to the latest economic and financial data on the country, government added 5 billion Ghana cedis to the country's public debt from May to June. More than half of the debt are coming from external borrowings, whilst the rest are domestic. The report also paints a bleak picture about the banking sector as deposits, total assets of commercial banks and credit extension declined sharply. Total deposits among the commercial banks, for instance, dropped from 37 billion to 34 billion Ghana cedis from May to June, whilst loans of the commercial banks fear it might go bad is increasing. The amount of Ghana cedis in circulation also reduced substantially, whilst both local and foreign deposits held in commercial banks witnessed a huge drop. The Bank of Ghana is now putting the Ghana cedi's rate of depreciation against the US dollar at about 14%. The data also revealed that, with the exception of cocoa, which saw its earnings go up to $93 million, revenue from the other commodities like gold and crude oil witnessed a significant decline, whilst the country's import bill for the month of June hit $1.1 billion, a little bit higher than what we earned from exports. Now, despite these worrying data, economic activities seems to be picking up, according to the Bank of Ghana. The country's international reserves declined by $200 million to $4.3 billion from May to June. For some, this raises a lot of questions about whether the Bank of Ghana was indeed pumping some $20 million into the economy to stabilize the Ghana cedi.
The Group Managing Director of Highfield Capital, Mahama Idrisu, is asking government to handle the scandal that has rocked the judicial appropriately to restore investor confidence. The investment analyst tells Joy Business investors will be interested in doing business in Ghana if the judges found guilty are made to face the full rigors of the law and those innocent freed.
For this, what we probably would think that will help is to make sure that these allegations are followed through. If they become true, those who need to be punished or to face the rigor of the law will go through it. Those who need to be freed will be freed. And then everybody is watching how the judiciary is going to go about the solution.
Can that restore investor confidence?
Up to a certain level that the problem, the allegations that have come up have been dealt with. is very important for most investors. And that tells you that there's some cleansing that have actually done in the legal system.
On that note, we wrap up with business. I'm Eton Amsi, and I appreciate your time with me. Get interactive with us on Facebook, facebook.com/joybusiness, on our Twitter handle @joybiztoday, and also on myjoyonline.com/business. There's more news, please stay.
Entertainment news was brought to you by
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Now for entertainment, and Miss G is here. Good evening to you, Miss G.
Good evening, Israel.
Gloria Akpe Nenyako.
Israel I.
Weasel.
Akpe. Well doji.
Okay, don't take me any further than that. That's all the ever are having me.
But
right. So what's
yeah,
thank you. What's coming up in
a lot? You know, we have issues about Ibrahim Atta. I'm sure you're not familiar with that name.
Oh,
Beast of No Nation. He picked up an award in Italy. We'll be talking also about Big J Kittel. Yes, he passed by last week, but he had some things that we didn't tell you about. He talked about some of the challenges he's facing now as a solo artist, and then we'll be talking a bit to you about Nero X. But Easy, how good are you with dance moves?
I try. I'm not a very good dancer, I must admit, but yeah, I can show you some moves.
So do you know how to do shoki?
I'm not sure. Probably I know how to dance. I don't know that's what's called.
All right, so I'll be showing you Adeze Yobo. That's the wife of Nigerian footballer Joseph Yobo, doing her shoki just after church.
Okay.
Yes.
It's possible. I mean, I probably have been doing this dance maybe about 10 or 15 years ago, and she's now learning.
You want me to dare you? But let's go straight to our first story. And the Cartel Big J, who spent some time with us last Friday, didn't only talk about his new single titled Wedding or his yearning to have actress, television presenter Sally, but also touched on his challenges as a solo artist.
It was quite tough in the beginning. You know, acceptance. You know, people, especially we blacks, fine. I'm not trying to be any racist here, but most people we find it very difficult accepting change. You know, people like you were used to the group, or the three of us being in the group, so it was quite difficult coming up, in the beginning. But now, I mean, people have grown to know what I'm capable of. From my first single, I dropped a very beautiful video. The song, was a clear testification of what I was preaching about, or what I said I was. And I mean, the subsequent songs I brought to are a clear testimony to as well. So I mean, that's what it is.
All right. So is this where we're going to be seeing the shoki?
No. First of all,
you're holding on to the
yes,
you're teasing me just like if I
because I'm going to be daring you live here on set. But let's go to our next story, and it has to do with Inyanya and Frida. They seem to be the latest couple in Nigeria. How true? Well, Frida Francis, who is a model, has been tied to the artist, and she says it's nobody's business what she does with Inyanya.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Easy, for having me.
Entertainment. Right, it's now time for sports that comes up in a moment. Stay tuned.
Entertainment news was brought to you by
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Let's start with that news on Division 1 League football now. Techiman City and War African United, and the news for all the wrong reasons. Now, Ghana football has been rocked with a match-fixing scandal as the GFA Ethics Committee finds Techiman City and War African United guilty of bribery and match fixing after investigations into their matchday 22 game played at the Damongo Park. And some very strong sanctions meted out to these two clubs. Now, the CEOs of the two clubs have been suspended for 6 months as far as all football-related activities are concerned. And then the team managers, that's Kofi Adams and the coach Yao Ba Suleiman of Wa African United, are banned from 1 year from all football-related activities, as well as Wa African United also being made to refund 2,000 Ghana cedi to the Ghana Football Association for the development of juvenile football. So the FA coming out very hard on these two clubs. The question everyone is asking is why it is taking thus a longer time. I mean, between March day 22 and now, it's been quite a number of months, and as to why this did not happen earlier, maybe the FA just wanted to be sure with their investigations. We'll move on and do other stories, this time from the First Qatar Plus Premier League. Ashgold have just won the league, and you'd have thought that that would have been enough to keep their CEO at the club. We understand the CEO of the club, Kujo Fianu, has decided to quit.
I believe in what Shakespeare said, that is, you leave the stage when applaud is loudest. I think that what the people of Adansi want is the league trophy. I've delivered it. I think I need to face new challenges in life. I've done this particular job for 10 years, and I think that the body is getting weaker to continue. Because, to be very honest with you, this decision was not taken just on the spur of the moment. I believe that my board is aware that I had made this call several times that I want to take a bow. And I could have only taken the bow having delivered something. And now that having delivered it, I think that this is the right time.
He's leaving the team now, but he's backing them for bigger things in the near future.
I think that this club has a lot of promise. I think that if we put the right structures in place, motivate these players, keep them, we'll repeat the achievements of the early 90s. That is 94, 95, 96. This club won the league on the trot. And I think that with the right structures, the right investment, and the right support, this team can hold on to the top spot for some time, venture into Africa, and do very well. I think that the motivation is that Ghanaian clubs are only 2 now participating in Africa. If we make it to the money zone, the number will be increased to 4.
Fatal Dada made a return from Orlando Pirates and Chippa United in the PSL in South Africa, and was a big part of Ashgold's success, winning the league title for the first time since 1996. And he's looking forward to making a big impression with the club on the continent.
We finished the league now, left with the CAF, that's very important too. And I think the consistency is there. We need to keep on working, and when the teamwork is there, we can do better. I know definitely the management will, make sure they will get some materials to, so that they will beef up, so that we can do better in Africa. That's the most important thing. It's not easy though, but we keep on working so that we make ourselves and our club and then Ghana proud in the CAF competition.
Great Olympics, it's not really working out well for them. The team has just been relegated from the First Qatar Plus Premier League, but this is the big one. The director of the club and FA Executive Committee member, Fred Papu, is claiming that the league lacks credibility.
If you are playing in a game and people decide as a nation not to be truthful, and then people are branded when they decide to speak the truth. If you decide to speak the truth, you are branded. Are you trying to tell me that you did not know the results, the outcome of about 4 or 5 of the matches before they were played yesterday? That I'm being blamed for not using my position as an executive committee member for my team to survive. And I say I'm happy about that. Then my principles and my standards are satisfied that I did not use my position to make sure Olympics stay at all costs at the expense of others who are more competitive. So if others decide to do that for their clubs to stay and for Olympics to go, that is their...
Now, Premier League Secretary Emmanuel Dasuberi says he's disappointed with Mr. Papu's remarks.
The 16 Premier League clubs are able to establish that there was bad officiating and all that. They should bring it on board. Fortunately, the executive committee of which Mr. Fred Papu belongs to decided that the 16 Premier League clubs should form the Premier League board. So if they have issues, they should bring it on board. That is the issue now. But for us to have ended the league and then this thing to be coming out, at this point is rather very unfortunate. And I don't know what we can do about it. Because if it were Monday 25, Monday 26, you had mentioned this thing to do that, we would investigate.
We do some news on the All-African Games where Team Ghana are gradually beginning to win some medals, but it's not really being a good run for Ghana in the football tournament as the Black Meteors crashed out. The ladies only just making it to the semi-final by a drawing of a lot. We caught up with the FA Communications Director Ibrahim Sanidar on what he makes of the Meteors' performance at the All-African Games.
Sad, particularly sad that yesterday the Meteors crashed out. The Black Queens also had a very, very difficult tie against South Africa. But that goes down to one thing, preparation. If you face difficulties in the way you prepare for any competition, it will be difficult. You realize that our league calendar was disrupted by this issue of King Faisal. And at the time that the team was supposed to be preparing, a lot of their players were playing in there, so they did not have the adequate time. Also would say that maybe the preparation that they wanted for themselves to have played a lot of friendly matches did not happen because of this calendar. Also maybe financial support is also another sticking point. We hope that we can learn from these lessons and improve by the next tournament.
That's it for sports.
Right, so that's it for the bulletin. Before we go to a quick run through our top stories, as allegations of corruption swirl around the judiciary, the Chief Justice is promising to deal swiftly and decisively with those found culpable. But the implicated judges are not going down without the fight. They are filing an injunction to stop public screening of secretly filmed footage of them allegedly receiving bribes, and also pleading not to be crucified until their side is heard. And tired of staying at home, psychiatric nurses demand postings 3 years after graduating. And in business, monetary policy rates hits the highest mark in 12 years. That'll be all for the bulletin. Thank you very much for staying.
This is Joy News Prime.